This presentation will be investigating best practice solutions for global sustainability challenges facing Greater Sydney. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 17, identifies the systemic issue of fragmented governance. As part of the Rockefeller 100 Resilient Cities, Resilient Sydney, a strategy for city resilience 2018 identifies 35 actions aimed at addressing the global and local issues of resilience. Central to Resilient Sydney, Direction 5 One City identifies fragmented governance as a key impediment to success. Largely, Sydney is faced with the challenge of having to deal with multiple governing bodies, public, private, and community interests. Fragmented governance and the lack of integrated decision-making and differing priorities for various agencies and stakeholders has been found to contribute to and exacerbate stresses and shocks. Underpinning this strategic direction, Planning for 2050 by the City of Sydney focuses on the importance of governance in shaping sustainable cities, placing participatory governance at the forefront of their focus as the first target. Direction 5 One City identifies 5 actions in creating resilient governance structures and responses to stresses and shocks. Since the adoption of Resilient Sydney in 2018, how have models of thinking evolved regarding best practice governance, and what actions should Resilient Sydney take to embed these new models of thinking into a revised Direction 5 One City? To answer this research question, 2 case studies have been identified. The following actions will be further analysed as they are particularly relevant to Sydney. First, we will look at the London City Resilience Strategy. The London City Resilience Strategy has identified a shortfall in being able to manage planning and mobilising resources to address structural and medium-term stress factors that over time deteriorate the ability of systems and services to deal with shock and stressor events. The project aims to deploy a pilot model to identify new learnings involving policy and stakeholders informed by the new City Resilience Standards. This model also seeks to evaluate the existing work and gauge if policy is responding to the known challenges. Resilient Sydney is making efforts towards collaborative governance, however, actions identified in Resilient Sydney are not easily quantifiable. Building on Action 32, Action 33 and Action 34, Resilient Sydney could adopt a similar set of standards to the City Resilience Standards and develop training for associated agencies in agile and collaborative approach to governance. Disruptions such as extreme weather events and infrastructure failure comes at a cost. Understanding these costs from a micro to macro level will aid in financial preparedness. Quantifying the cost of disruption ensures suitable business cases can be made around policy decisions. This also aids in building trust, transparency, and accountability in governance. Resilient Sydney discusses previous costs of natural disaster in Australia and estimates an increase. However, provides no clear direction on how these will be quantified. The recent bushfire and flooding events have proven this to be a key issue. It will be beneficial for the Resilient Sydney office as a part of Action 32 and 34 to place due focus on quantifying the cost of disruption using a modelling tool. Now we will look at the Hague Resilience Strategy 2019. The Hague, in collaboration with the City of Rotterdam, will develop resilience training for managers across both cities. This will incorporate a resilience scan, a pilot exercise in which the current projects are analysed as to their 7 resilience qualities. Through the implementation of this action, managers will be better equipped to inform projects on resilience and will create a more resilient workforce. Lessons learned from the program will then be input into future models. Building on Action 31 of Resilient Sydney, where it is noted training and capacity building is required, Resilient Sydney could expand on this to propose a similar approach. The Hague, in collaboration with the City of Rotterdam, will develop resilience training for managers across both cities. This will incorporate the Resilience Scan, a pilot exercise in which current projects are analysed to their 7 resilience qualities. Through the implementation of this action, managers will be better equipped to inform on resilience and will in turn create a more resilient workforce. Building on Action 31 of Resilient Sydney, where it is noted training and capacity building is required, Resilient Sydney could expand on this to propose a similar approach. The actions of Resilient Sydney, in the most part, lack clear direction and are not easily quantifiable when reporting on progress. This creates issues around being accountable to the delivery of the strategy. In understanding how models of thinking regarding best practice governance have evolved since 2018, a plan of action for Sydney is proposed. It is recommended that during this period a review of the actions of Direction 5 One City can be undertaken with the goal to achieve measurable and clear objectives. In addition to this review, building on Action 32, the Resilient Sydney Office could adopt and develop alongside the New South Wales Government and relevant agencies and stakeholders city resilience standards as a measurement and analysis tool in understanding how Sydney is tracking. The Resilient Sydney office will roll out a series of resilience training sessions for associated agencies for employees at leadership levels in agile approach to governance to ensure Sydney is working towards adopting best practice, agile and collaborative governance structures. Building on Action 31, the Resilient Sydney office will provide training to key organisations and stakeholders that includes a resilience scan exercise. Refresher courses to key organisations will be provided annually to ensure compliance with the City Resilience Standards. The Resilient Sydney office, building on Action 32 and Action 34, will quantify the cost of disruption through the development of a modelling tool to provide accurate information to stakeholders and the public, as well as ensure best practice decision making is in place. Furthering Action 26 in alignment with Action 33, the Resilient Sydney office, in consultation with state agencies and relevant stakeholders, will develop an analytical tool similar to the Hague's Circle tool to ensure we fully understand the interconnectedness of our infrastructure, which will allow for real-time data to respond to or mitigate the likelihood of stressor or shock events impacting on the broader system. The proposed plan of action provides a clear set of actionable outputs to be achieved in the next 4 years. With the implementation of these proposed actions, Sydney will be well on its way to not only being a resilient city, but a city that guides best practice globally.